chiropractic professional now.
All right, we're gonna get started here. Thank you so much for being here, guys. You guys are fantastic. And in behalf of Aspen, thank you for all the attendees that have jumped on as well. We're super excited to host this 1-hour Q&A session with two of our awesome docs, and we also have one of my favorite team members as well, my recruiters. So I'm gonna have you guys introduce yourselves, and then we're gonna get started. We have quite a few questions that have come through our online portal that you guys had access to, as well as you guys have access to submit questions on here as well through the Q&A box. So do not hesitate to pop in any questions as they come up. And then we're gonna try to get through as many questions as we can in this 1-hour session. So let's get started. I'm gonna have you guys introduce yourselves first. Go ahead, Tyler.
I'm Tyler Robers. I am a recent grad. I graduated last May from Marquette University, and I work up in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Awesome. What year did you graduate?
2019.
Awesome.
Year.
Perfect. Jessie?
I'm Jessie Deffendahl, and I graduated from the University of Louisville in Kentucky in 2017, and I practiced in Louisville with Aspen, and now I practice in Pikeville, Kentucky.
Awesome. And really quick, Jessie, what's your position?
I'm the MCD, which is the lead dentist at Aspen.
Okay, so that's a managing clinical director. Okay. And then Tyler, what's your current position?
Same, MCD.
Okay, awesome. And you're in the process of hopefully going into a partnership, right?
Yeah, that was the plan pre-COVID. We got pretty close, and then that kind of got derailed for a little bit. So hopefully.
Okay, you'll get there. We have faith in you. And then Tyler, oh no, not Tyler, just kidding. I love you, Tyler. Jump in there.
So my name is Brian Howard. I've been with Aspen for 9 years. If you heard me look up, my son's bedroom's right above me, and I heard him and my daughter like doing gymnastics or something up there. So if you see me look up, I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm trying to like shoot vibes at them. But I am a recruiter with Aspen. So if you want to talk jobs, you call me or Becca.
Love it. Okay, great. So we're going to get started again. We have 1 hour of Q&A. We have quite a few questions already. So you're going to see me kind of going back and forth because I have all the questions on the right-hand side. And then anybody that wants to submit live questions, please just click on the bottom. I feel like I'm like a YouTube star. Click at the Q&A button that you see right down there, and you can submit all your questions live, and we're going to get through as many as we can. So we're going to get started. So the first question is, do you regret joining Aspen? Why did you choose Aspen versus any other DSO? Who wants to take that one? Tyler.
I can take it. I don't regret joining Aspen. Let's see. Reason I joined Aspen, I was heavily involved in ASDA, and so I got to know some of the recruiters really well through Aspen through my 4 years there. And I signed on, I think it was September of my D4 year, so kind of early. But they had a pretty decent opportunity for me. And although I'm not in that office, I got an even better opportunity about 6 months in. So I've been in a couple offices now, but really happy where I'm at.
Awesome. Jessie, do you want to add anything?
I definitely don't regret, joining Aspen. I love my job. I don't ever anticipate leaving. What was the second half of the question?
Do you have any regrets, and why did you choose Aspen over any other DSO?
I chose Aspen for a number of reasons. I just thought it offered me a lot of mentorship. I felt like I still had a lot to learn after school, from surgery to treatment planning, and I really wanted someone to teach me a lot first. So that's what I probably gravitated towards Aspen the most.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Next question is, how do I look for mentorship opportunities with Aspen? Is mentorship automatically provided?
Did you say me? So yes, mentorship is automatically provided. The first 4 weeks of onboarding is like a training, and you follow around an owner and assist and learn. And then after that 4-week program, there's still that mentor who's there to teach you and coach you and help you with, all the things that you encounter on a daily basis. And I still text my owner every day as far as mentorship is just building on what you learn and learning more and treatment planning. And so you really want to find someone that you can partner with really your whole career to grow together. And that's really what I found with Aspen.
Awesome. Tyler, did you have a similar experience?
Mine was a little bit different. I was kind of one of those people that I've always learned better just kind of jumping in. And so my onboarding, the second day, actually, I just kind of started doing the schedule. And the owner doc was there to back me up and really helped me along the way. A lot of times she was even standing right outside the op and would give me feedback on, I would have said this to the patient. I think one of the big adjustments for me was new patients and kind of the verbiage on how to talk with patients about treatment, and because it's a little different than dental school, I guess. So it was a great onboarding experience. Similar to Jesse, I still text my owner doc a few times a week. So it's nice to have that mentorship.
Awesome. So that actually segues to a couple other questions that we have. Do you do all of your own treatment planning? What does that look like? Do you start treatment planning from the beginning, or do you work yourself into that? Jesse.
So every new patient at Aspen comes in for a panoramic radiograph, a full mouth series, a perio chart with our hygienist, and she goes over whether it's prophy, gingivitis, perio, and what that treatment looks like. And then the dentist goes in and comprehensively treatment plans. So it's a lot of help. It is treatment planning from the first time they come in, and sometimes that takes a little collaboration. I have two. There's myself and my associate in my office, so sometimes we'll talk through treatment plans, and we go over those treatment plans, hopefully in an easy way for the patient to understand, giving them options, and then recommending what we think is the best long-term treatment plan for that patient. So there's some collaboration, if there's implants involved, I always ask my owner doctor his advice and feedback about implant cases. So there's collaboration in treatment planning, but every new patient does get a comprehensive treatment plan the first appointment.
Do you have anything to add, Tyler? Do you have similar experience with your current office?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely from the start, your treatment planning. At first, there were a lot of times that I would bounce ideas off the owner doc, but that was one thing she pushed me to do as many treatment plans as I could, because you have to treatment plan fairly quickly, which you don't have to do in dental school necessarily. So being able to come up with a treatment plan quickly and effectively was important. I would say another thing is I really enjoy that aspect, that I do all my own treatment plans, because I did work in an office for 3 months that I took over from a different doctor, and I didn't always agree with his treatment plans. So it is a little bit of a awkward conversation sometimes with the patient if you don't feel comfortable doing something another doctor treatment plan. Not necessarily that they're wrong, just that you have differing opinions.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's numerous ways to do treatment planning, right? So you want to make sure that you have that conversation, and they're not always wrong, but they're just different. So this is your license, and you do what's best for you and what you're comfortable doing. Do you guys both believe that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Awesome. So we have a couple live questions that came in. The first question is, when you sign a contract with a certain Aspen office, are you able to transfer early to another Aspen office without violating your contract? So I'm going to have Brian take this one, so we can have a quick discussion about the word contract, which is a naughty word at Aspen because we don't necessarily have contracts. So Brian, take that question, please.
Yeah, so we don't have contracts, we have work agreements. It's great for you as a person signing on because you're not obligated to stay. We want our doctors to be with us as much as we want them to be with us. So we don't have contracts. That said, there are certain financial parameters that come with some offers that are indicative of you staying in one location. And those are discussed with you whenever those things come up. There's lots of nuance things, sign-on bonuses, retention bonuses, student loan program, things like that. So as those items come up, we can discuss the parameters around those. But in a general sense, we don't have contracts, we don't have restrictive covenants, nor non-competes.
Awesome. So would anything affect you being able to transfer to another office early? I mean, if there's an opportunity, you're
no, I mean, if you
without
do
any violation, right?
Yeah. So as long as it's within the parameters we were talking about, if you do move to another office that is not owned by the current doctor you work for, because all of our clinics are owned by a doctor, you do have to interview with that new owner and get their buy-in. So that's really the only caveat to that.
Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna just ask you one more question since we're on the subject, Brian. When you come on to Aspen, what kind of benefits do we offer? Are those the same for everyone, or are those negotiable?
According to what benefit you're talking about, in general, it's pretty even along all doctors. You get your first full year, you get 10 days paid vacation, 6 paid holidays. Your second year, you move up to 13 days. At 5 years, you get 18 days. Those are all paid. We provide corporate sponsored healthcare, health and vision. We don't do dental. We have a discount plan we do within our own 4 walls. We do 401k at a year. You get a company match dollar for dollar. Sorry, I have my fidget. Dollar for dollar for the first 3 percentage points that you can invest. 4 and 5% is 50 cents on the dollar. You're 100% vested at a year as well, which is great. We also provide all your CEs for you. We have short, long-term disability, life insurance, stuff like that.
Okay.
So full company.
Love it. And then what would be the best time, or when would be the best time to start applying for positions? I'm assuming for D4s. I guess that question is referring to D4s.
Yeah, D3s, it's a great time to sign on to get in a shadow in office to see if we are right for you. For D4s now, like reach out, have a conversation with us. We might not put you in front of an owner to interview quite yet, but go ahead and form the relationship, get to know us. We can get you into shadow beforehand. You can start meeting staff and things like that before you actually interview. And like I said, it's all about relationships. That's what dentistry is to me. And so building your relationship with your patients, the same with the team that you work with, the owner, the recruiter, the academic person, other doctors, stuff like that.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to ask a question over to Tyler. What kind of technology do you currently have in your office? Is it pretty standard technology across the board?
It's pretty standard. My office is brand new. It just opened 2 weeks before quarantine. So we kind of have the latest stuff in Aspen. We open with an iTero, we open with CBCT, we opened with multiple X-ray machines. Trying to think what other fancy stuff we have. I guess that's the main stuff. It is nice. I love the iTero. I use it most patients to be able to kind of show them their teeth and they can see inside their mouth. So that's one of the biggest tools that I love. I also love doing Invisalign. So that's been my favorite so far.
Thank you. That's a great segue because the next question that came in is, do all associates get implant and Invisalign training? Did you get both implant and Invisalign training? What did that look like for you?
I got Invisalign trained. So there are obviously different steps of implant training. So I am restoring all overdentures and I'm restoring all single unit crowns. But my owner is placing them. So I think that there's a graduated system within Aspen and it kind of takes you from baby steps to more advanced steps. So that is available. There's a ton of CE, like 40 hours available to anyone who wants to use it at any time. And I think that right before COVID, Aspen was trying to build an in-person program where everybody goes to our headquarters in Chicago and does more hands-on training with an instructor. But I think that COVID interrupted that. But I assume, next year or the year after, we'll be able to do more hands-on in-person training at headquarters, which will be available to all associates.
Yeah.
Brian, did you want to add anything? Because I know that you know kind of the segue of when you start Invisalign, when you start implants, and who gets and stuff.
You're exactly right. We just rolled out a new program. It was supposed to launch like literally right at the beginning of like COVID hitting the US. So it's sort of been put on the back burner because a lot of it is, like Jesse said, in person in Chicago. Since travel is really limited right now, as Aspen representatives, we're not really allowed to travel right now. So until we can really gather in larger groups, until everything, a vaccine or something comes up, cure, if you not cure, you know what I mean? Until that happens, we unfortunately won't be able to really go forward with it, but there is a graduated program from restoring all the way up to like all on fours. We have special clinicians in place that are evaluating so many cases that you do in each category before you move on to the next category. It's in partnership with Nobel Biocare, and they're of all of our CEs that are majority free. This one does have some costs associated with it because of the in-person instruction, and there is a section where you actually get to place on live patients in an instructional facility.
Tyler, did you start doing implant training yet, or is that kind of the next step for you as well?
Yeah, I took the 2-week course it was supposed to be in person, but they kind of switched it up. I think you both talked about it. We have a prosthodontist on staff that's kind of the implant guru in Aspen, and he put on a 2-week course that I took kind of via webinar like this. It was pretty intensive course. There was about like 50 hours of self-study, and then it was about 20 hours of live webinar. So it covered everything you would need to know about implants and things. So the next step for me is to restore a certain number and work with my POP to place them with her, and then I'll be able to do that live course.
Awesome, thanks guys. All right, so the next question is, what type of patients does Aspen typically see in their practice? And do you accept Medicaid in your offices? Ooh, Jesse.
We see everybody. The average patient at Aspen hasn't been to the dentist in a while. They're perio patients, they're denture patients, but everybody is welcome. We see kids sometimes as well. Aspen accepts all insurances except for state-funded insurance, so not Medicaid and not Medicare plans except for supplement plans. So that answers that question. But we work with the patients if you have Medicaid or Medicare and you still need treatment to pay out of pocket for it, Aspen has some third-party financing options that we can apply the patients for in the office and set them on monthly payment plans, which allows those patients to get care just over, pay for it over a longer amount of time than they could in a private practice.
That's a great segue, because the next question that popped up is, I hear all you do is dentures. Is this true? I think we hear that a lot. Who wants to take that, Tyler?
I can answer that. No, that is not true. We do a fair amount of dentures, I would say. I would say probably averaging a few a week. Maybe one a day on average, I guess, but we do everything. I would say the biggest thing I've been doing lately is a lot of crowns. A lot of people are breaking off teeth during COVID, I guess, with the stress, but we do Invisalign in our office, implants, obviously fillings, hygiene, and so it's a pretty even mix. Definitely gonna do a little bit more dentures than you would be in a private practice, but I like the variety.
Awesome. So I think the reason people ask this so much is that we do a lot of dentures is a lot of folks don't understand that we have our own denture labs. Do you guys want to touch on that? Just kind of emphasize why we do so many dentures and what our turnaround is for dentures?
Yeah, I guess I can answer that one too. My office being new, we have quite a few openings still, but it's super nice. We can usually finish a denture in a week for a patient because we have our lab tech on site. I also love it because my lab tech's been doing dentures for like 30 years. So, and I've been doing dentures for 5. So she has a lot more experience, and I just go in there. If there's a patient I have a question about, I just bring her right into the operatory and say, Holly, this is what I'm seeing. Then she can see what I'm seeing, and then she goes back to the lab once we take the impression or whatever and fixes it. Yes.
Love it. All right, so let's move along. If I start as an associate, how quickly can I become a managing clinical director or a lead dentist at Aspen? Who wants to, since you guys are both MCDs, right?
I was hired as an MCD. I don't think that's often the case, but there was an opportunity that an office needed an MCD, and I had 3 months of training and then was the MCD there.
Awesome. Jesse, did you come in as an associate and then get promoted to MCD?
Yeah, I came in as an associate. In Louisville, there are 3 offices, so I floated between those offices. And I liked that. I did that for about a year, and I liked it because I saw a lot of different ways that people practice. So things I liked about, how one person treatment planned or how one person did surgery, and I thought I got a lot of exposure to that. And then there was not an opening for MCD in the area where I was, so I moved to an area that I didn't necessarily want to live in for an MCD spot, and I'm really glad that I did. But I did practice as an associate for about a year, but also I wanted the opportunity to work under someone else and learn from them. And so I think if I had wanted to be MCD faster, I could have. If someone's ready, then they're ready to move up and be lead and be alone. I just wanted a little bit more time to learn.
Awesome. I'm going to just ask a follow-up question so, a lot of our student attendees can understand. Brian, what would you consider the biggest difference between an associate position and an MCD position?
So,
and why is it less common that a student comes in as an MCD?
So as the MCD, you're really supposed to be coaching and developing your clinical staff on top of really driving the patient care in the office. So without like a solid, I love that Tyler said that he actually had 3 months of training prior going to office. Typically that's a month. So he got extra time. But a lot of it is the leadership qualities associated with developing associate underneath of you, your DAs, your hygienists, your lab tech, you're coaching and developing them. And unless you have that rock solid, experience and know-how, it's really hard to do that. You also see more patients. And then, like I said, you're the driver of patient care. You're the one primarily seeing the new patients when they come in. So it builds on that experience that you gained under an intensive training like Tyler got or an associateship like Jesse got.
Awesome. Jesse, you mentioned that you started in one place and ended in a place that you weren't super excited about. There's a question that kind of speaks on that. So it says, geographically speaking, did you wind up working somewhere that you wanted to work at? Or did you have to move? And how did that work out?
So when I graduated, I was really against leaving where I'd gone to school. And so I was willing to stay as an associate in that area, to be in an area where I wanted to live in a city. But after about a year of working for other people, I was ready to be on my own. And so Aspen offered me some student loan. Sorry, this is my dog. Some student loan.
He can say hi. We love dogs here. Hey, buddy.
Some student loan reimbursement offer to live in Eastern Kentucky, where there's not much to do. And unfortunately, there's not many providers. The closest corporate to me is about 3 hours away, and it's another Aspen, and that's like a whole radius. So there's really not a lot of providers for the patients here, which is, so it's an underserved area. It really needs more providers to be out here. So I am glad that I was open to relocating for this opportunity.
Love that. Tyler, you
Yeah.
moved too, right?
Yeah, I can speak to that too. So, the office I started in, I did 3 months of training with Dr. Lees, and that was in Appleton, Wisconsin, which I'm back in Appleton now. But I started there. I grew up about 10 minutes from her office, and then my wife didn't want to move that far north in Wisconsin. It's not super far north, but she was from Illinois, and so she didn't want to move. So then I was farther south for 3 months as an MCD. I just didn't love the area, and then the opportunity arose that they're opening a new office on the other side of town in Appleton where I had trained, and they wanted me to come back up and be the MCD there, and I finally convinced my wife to move, so that worked out. And I'm happy, she's happy now. I just had to prove to her it was a good area.
Awesome. And now you have the opportunity, hopefully, to go into partnership down the road. So it was a move up. And same thing with you, right, Jesse? It was a move up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So we have quite a few other questions to get to. So name a few things that you really enjoy about working. That sounded crazy. Name a few things you really enjoy about working for Aspen. So either of you guys can take that.
I guess I'll take that first. I think my favorite part is giving people a new smile. I know Aspen doing a lot of dentures is what people think we do all day, but to me, it's one of the most rewarding things because the patients that come in that have not been able to smile for 10 years or so, and I've had plenty of grown men crying in the chair when we do their extractions and deliver their dentures, and they're just so happy to be able to smile confidently again. That's the most rewarding part of my job.
I love that. Jesse?
Yeah, that pretty much hits the nail on the head. But I think that Aspen creates a good culture. I think that we're always looking to do things better and educate patients more. And I think that we're looking to have positivity in the offices, and that each job has a role and brings something to the office every day. And so, every time we get together, it's a really good time. And I think Aspen's done a really good job of making culture a really important part of being at work.
I love that. That's actually a good segue to this question that popped up as well. Aspen folks always talk about culture. What does culture mean for Aspen? Who wants to take that? And don't just say we just party, besides just party.
We do party. All I'll say is I've been with Aspen for 9 years now, and Jesse is actually one of my best friends. Becca's one of my best friends. So like I have a total of like 2 people in my world that aren't associated with Aspen. And one of them is someone I've known since college. Other than that, we hire great people, and we're expensive in the type of person that we are, but we all have a common thread, and that's to live life as best as possible and have a good time while doing it. And I enjoy the people, and I love the people I work with, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm so happy in my career here and why I've been here for so long. I begrudgingly said the other day, I've been with Aspen not long enough. I could have got a bachelor's degree, gone to be a DMD, and done a residency, then start working. But I've had a good time otherwise.
That's awesome. Do you guys have the same experience, Tyler, Jess?
I'm on mute. I would say, yeah, my office has, my office staff has gotten really close over the few months now that we've been open. A lot of us came over from the other Appleton office, but yeah, really good culture of positivity.
Do you agree that you guys create your own culture? Like every office has its own mini culture, and as the MCD or as the associate, you guys are the driving force of that culture in your office?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. you know, I think that you can either be a positive leader or you cannot be, and everybody else will pick up on your energy. And if you're positive towards the patients and you're outgoing and you're engaging, then that's really contagious in your whole office. And so from having morning huddle, be real positive, you know, sometimes we have dance parties in the morning, or we do a late day on Thursdays. So a lot of times on Thursdays, we'll do like a family dinner, and we'll do a potluck, and so we'll all bring food. You know, just being positive to the patients and being protective of your staff and telling them that you appreciate them. So we'll have weeks that we do appreciation for the front staff or appreciation for hygiene, and just telling someone that you appreciate them goes a long way. And so making sure that you do that consistently in your office brings a lot of positivity to the team.
Awesome. Okay, so next question. Why did you choose Aspen Dental over private practice? Did any of you guys interview with private practices as well?
I had a couple other opportunities. For me, it was more about growth, I guess, or the opportunity for growth. A couple of the other places that I had spoken with, it seemed like I was going to be associate was kind of the dead end of that, because they were family-owned practices, not really interested in passing that on, or younger owners that really didn't seem interested in allowing buy-in, I guess.
Jesse, did you interview with any private practices or just DSOs?
I shadowed with a few private practices, and I just felt like they were like a slower pace. I felt like there wasn't really the new patients that when I shadowed in Aspen, that the Aspen was seeing. I felt like there was a lot of like sitting around, and it wasn't as much hustle as I really wanted. And I really didn't, it was hard for me to really understand the numbers of like collections and, you know, how these dollar values of how you get paid, these percentages. It was kind of hard to wrap my head around it. So I liked that Aspen had a daily guarantee, and that I could always for sure pay my loans at least with that daily guarantee. And so that made me feel more comfortable in the DSO setting, but I wanted to work somewhere that I would really have to work hard. And when I went to shadow at an Aspen, that dentist worked pretty hard, and I was attracted to that.
I love that. We talked about quotas. There's a question here that says, does Aspen Dental make you hit specific quotas or metrics? And what are those? Tyler, you're shaking your head. Go ahead and answer.
No, definitely not. I worked in the office I was in for a while, was an office that had struggled for a couple of years. And so when I went there, we started to do a little bit better, but we still weren't near. I mean, there's a budget goal for the month, and it really just depends on what you have done historically. That really doesn't mean anything. If you don't meet it, you don't meet it. It's just a goal for the month, essentially. Obviously, you want to get there, and you want the office to be busy, but there's no quotas of you have to produce this month or we're going to take your paycheck away or anything like that.
And there are some places that do that, right? Same experience for you, Jesse? No metrics or no quotas or anything that you have to hit with at your position?
No, same as Tyler. Like the first month I was at my new practice, I was redoing a lot of work that I felt like wasn't standard of care for the patients. And my owner just said, you know, the most important thing is patient care, and the numbers don't matter. Really, all that matters is that we take care of these patients. And so the numbers didn't matter, and they were really bad, but that was fine. It was really more about taking care of the patients.
Awesome. So what kind of cases are currently coming in? I know you touched on that a little bit, Tyler, with, you know, what you're doing a lot more of right now, but do you guys see more specific cases now that we're going through COVID?
I would say I'm seeing a little bit higher influx of like emergencies, just kind of patients that were untreated for a while, that have pain or, like I said, broken teeth, but otherwise pretty similar. Our Invisalign patient influx actually went up quite a bit after COVID. So that was also a good bonus to our new office too, which was nice.
Awesome. So there's quite a bit of questions that were submitted about COVID. So we're going to just kind of jump into those, okay? So the first question is, are you worried about PPE shortage? What steps are you taking to make sure that the docs and hygienists are covered?
I can answer it. As far as COVID goes, I feel like this is one of the main times that I have really been thankful that I work for Aspen or a large DSO, because as a dentist, I was nervous about going back. Was my staff going to be safe? Was I going to be safe? And Aspen just took care of it, and I didn't have to worry about anything. They just send us our weekly supply of N95s and gowns, and we have face shields and everything we need to be safe. And they set up protocols of how we need to talk to patients about it. We need to follow up before with them and make sure they're healthy and haven't been traveling or anything like that. So it took a lot off of our plate as dentists, and we could just come back and worry about working rather than trying to scramble to find PPE.
Jesse, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that really covers it all. I mean, we have so many masks and even like face shields and gowns that it almost doesn't even fit in the supply closet. We've never had a shortage, and every week we get, cavi wipes and cavicide spray, and, gloves are never a problem. We screen every patient, so before they come in, they get asked 10 questions about, every temperature gets taken every time a staff member or a patient comes in the office. So Aspen's jumped through every hoop to make sure every patient and every staff member is safe every day.
Awesome. The next question was, do you feel that Aspen prepared you, and do you feel that you were protected during the reopening process? So that's a yes, right? You guys felt that you were protected and prepared to reopen properly?
Yeah, we even started pretty slowly, so we would only have 3 patients in the office at one time. And even though my office is new as well, and so all the operatories are closed, the wall closed, they're not open. And so we just kind of slowly, we didn't go from 0 to 100, through the month of May and even really June. It was kind of a ramp up to where we were in early March.
Okay, great. Yeah, the next question was, how are you handling patients? Are they waiting in the waiting room? Do you have multiple patients waiting at once? Are you taking temperatures? What is your current protocol with new patients coming into your office? Tyler.
So we are, pretty much everything that is recommended. Patients aren't really waiting in the waiting room if they're standing there, because they're just finishing up getting a room ready. We don't have like a full waiting room by any means. One patient max pretty much in the waiting rooms. Everyone's getting screened, like Jesse said, temperatures taken, a bunch of questions. And our office is scheduling a little bit extra time too, because the PPE does take a little bit longer to take on and off. And we had to work around trying to figure out how to not jump between rooms so much. Once we're in there, we're staying in there. And so that makes it a little more difficult with the flow, but I feel like our staff was just ready to get back to work. So they're willing to work through it, and it's worked out well.
Okay, great. So there's a couple other questions about COVID, but it sounds like they're kind of similar questions of like, what changes are you making now when you see patients? I mean, it sounds like you guys are just taking precaution and it's business as usual after all the precautions being taken, right? Okay, so jumping into specialty, what kind of specialty do we offer here at Aspen? Do any of your offices a specialty?
Yeah, our office has an oral surgeon coming. Because we're a new office and we were supposed to have one coming in like April. Obviously, COVID pushed that back, but I'm really excited because he's finally coming in August. And I enjoy that because there are cases that either would take me a long time or they're medically, they are on blood thinners or things that on a daily basis I'm just not comfortable dealing with, or would rather have them see the oral surgeon, or even more the case, a lot of our patients want sedation. So it's a nice way to offer patients not to have to go somewhere else, because a lot of those nervous patients are like, I don't want to go anywhere else. Can I just have everything done here? So that's been a big bonus. I wish we could have an endodontist and come to our office as well, but our area, we just can't get one up here.
Oral surgery or endo in your office?
I did when I worked in Louisville. We had an oral surgeon, and he was great. I would send him panos all the time, and he would tell me how he wanted things coded, or how much time he needed, or how he wanted his schedule, or and he offered IV sedation as well. And so that was nice for a patient who was a little bit tougher than what I wanted to handle in the office, and a good resource for learning. I think that we had an endodontist for a little while, but I think he moved. But that's, having case selection for an oral surgeon benefits, the dentist as well, because you get paid a little bit for setting up the cases for the oral surgeon. So that's a benefit to having him in your office rather than referring out to someone else.
Yeah, the next question is, when do you refer cases out? So at what point do you refer a case out is pretty straightforward question.
So I don't do any partial or full bony third molars. If I thought probably a full mouth was going to be really tough and probably take me more than 3 hours, I would probably refer. Again, really what Tyler said, really sick patients who have complex cardiac, or, a lot of patients here have black lung. So patients who have severe respiratory illnesses like sleep apnea is not a patient I want to sedate. Patients taking IV bisphosphonates, not something I want to touch. Just really, medically compromised patients.
So you don't necessarily have to refer anything out that you feel you're comfortable doing.
No, I don't have to refer out. And I also don't feel pressured to do anything that I don't feel comfortable doing. I can refer whatever I want.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay. So what does your schedule currently look like? Does Aspen have a normal 9 to 5 schedule, or are you open on the weekends? I'm assuming you guys have different schedules, right? Just kind of depending on the office?
Yeah, so mine is 7:45 to 5, 3 days a week, 7 to noon on Fridays, and then we have one late day that's 9:45 to 7. And then most offices are open one Saturday a month from, it depends on the office. Mine is only 8 to noon. But my office being new, we haven't filled our schedules yet, so haven't been open on a Saturday yet.
Brian, does Aspen offer just like a pretty basic schedule, or is it the office owner that decides the schedule along with the associate? What does the scheduling look like?
So our standard office hours are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 to 6, hour lunch break. Thursdays, 10 to 8, hour lunch break. And Fridays, 8 to 1, no lunch break. Saturdays are typically by appointment only, so you're only seeing new patients and procedure patients. And that's typically 8 to 3 with a 30-minute lunch break. So that's like Aspen recommended, if you will. Each owner, in partnership with the doctor that works in the clinic and the staff, can offer those hours, but everyone sort of has to be in agreement, led by the doctor that is the lead in the clinic, whether that be the owner, the partner, or just the MCD. So hours can fluctuate. It's a group effort to sort of what works for the doctors, the staff members, and of course the patients. If patients don't, if you open up at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning and patients aren't coming in at that point, you're sort of just paying people to be there for no reason. And you're not really benefiting the patients versus shifting the hours a little bit later when they would come in and see you. So we're all about knocking down barriers. So having your hours fit when patients are wanting to see you is part of that.
So we have a live question that came in that said, does Aspen offer weekend positions, like working Saturdays or Sundays potentially? Is that an option?
It's up to the owner. So you tell me the area that you want to be in. I can reach out to the owners in the area, whether it be one or multiple, and find out something that they're interested in. We typically like seeing full-time doctors versus part-time or PRN because of patient continuity reasons. Patients want to come in and see the same face. Even if they come into your office to see an oral surgeon and endodontist, they still get to see you in the office at one point. Most of our doctors, even when they do come in to see the MCD, will at least stop in and say, hey, Mrs. Jones, how are you? So they like seeing that familiarity and not having to fill out extra set of paperwork and things like that.
All right, so we have a couple more questions to go through. So what does training look like with Aspen Dental? How long do you get to train when you first started as an associate? Who wants to take that?
I think officially it's supposed to be about a month. It depends on the owner doc, really. I had a lot of friends that I graduated with that had pretty different experiences training. Like I said before, I kind of talked to my owner doc and I was like, I'll learn better by just doing it and having her there to back me up. And she was kind of on the same page that halfway through the first day, she's like, are you bored yet? And I'm like, yep. So we kind of expedited that process. And then every morning before huddle, we would get together and talk about things that happened the day before, what maybe I could have done better, things that I should work on that coming day. So it was a good time to reflect and set goals for what I wanted to improve on going forward.
So Becca, we just, so my friend Laura is in learning and development with Aspen, and she just told me we're rolling out a whole new program. So there's a pre-start program. It's all web-based. It's more so like getting to know Aspen prior to your first orientation day. Your first orientation day is paperwork, the stuff that everyone hates doing that you have to do when you start a new job. But then your first 4 months or first full month, first 4 weeks, like Tyler was saying, is supposed to be the doctor mentor program. After that, between months 3 and 6, when we're allowed to travel, of course, the goal is to get you in what we call beyond the chair. You go to Chicago, you're there with 20 to 40 of your peers from around the country. So you get to start building your network that way. And it really focuses not only on clinical care, but also beyond the chair. So also it's focusing on your leadership, about mentoring others and things like that. So it gives you more than just that clinical aspect and really starts growing your career, like Tyler was saying, versus just staying in that one central location.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so getting into patients. So how many new patients do you see per day and how long do you have with that patient? Jesse, you want to take that one?
Sure. My office sees about 8 new patients a day, which is pretty high. Some of that is because a lot of my patients are edentulous. So it's just replacement dentures. We just have to take a panoramic x-ray and then we sit down and talk about, expectations. I have really as much time with them as I want. Some patients obviously take longer than a 10-minute conversation about dentures. They might take 30 minutes or 45 minutes even if I need to talk to my owner about implants, about treatment planning. So there's really not like a cookie cutter time that I have with them. Some conversations just take longer. So I'd say probably between 10 and 30 minutes is how long I have with each new patient.
Is that pretty standard with you too, Tyler?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's definitely those patients that are just transferring from another office that are perfectly healthy. You go and do a normal exam and it ends up being kind of like hygiene check, and you're like, everything's healthy, let's get you in for a prophy. But then there are those patients where they haven't been in for a long time and they just don't realize everything that needs to happen, or didn't realize they needed dentures. And like Jesse said, you have to have that longer conversation about treatment and the options, and really make sure they understand. I think that's one thing I've learned over the past year is making sure to take a little extra time to ensure the patients understand what you're talking about, because no matter how much you say to them or how well you think you explain things, they usually don't understand what you're talking about.
So there's a question here that says, how much support does Aspen offer? I hear you guys have managers, regional managers. What does all that look like? So that's a good question, because private practices are owned by, the owner doc, and maybe he'll have an office manager. Our structure here at Aspen's a little different. So who wants to touch on that? What does Aspen offer?
I would say their main benefit is like recruitment of staff. So you don't have to spend office time for that. Personally, we had issues when we were opening up with our office not being on GPS or being able to be found by Google. We ran that through our regional manager, and he kind of got the right people on it. So those kind of bigger issue things that don't relate aren't in-office issues. It's nice having that staff behind you so you don't have to spend your time. You can be a dentist and manage your staff in the office.
I think that's a great point, Tyler. So Brian, do you want to touch on this? As a practitioner, your sole purpose is to practice dentistry, right? So you don't have to worry about hiring and HR issues and things like that. So do you want to touch on that really quick, Brian?
Yeah, so just a little background. My first 3 years with Aspen, I was an office manager. And at one point I traveled in all of Kentucky to train other office managers on being proficient and things like that. So essentially your office manager is there to ensure that your front end staff and your schedule is the way you want it to be. And that your office is running like a fine oiled machine. Your regional manager is there to make sure that your office is financially successful. So they're digging in, looking at different things where you may overview them or oversee them from like a financial point of view. They're running the business, if you will. Then you have a director, which is above the regional manager. Regional manager is over between 6 to 8 offices that they're managing the business of. A director has up to about 30. Now the director's sole job in life is to make sure that your jobs are easy, to make sure that the regional manager is making you money and that the office manager is making your office run smoothly. So I don't know about you, Tyler, but I know Jessie and I have several conversations about her director and whenever she reaches out to her and things like that. So you always have that level of support. The directors do have someone above them. So if none of the people below you are doing their job, you can go above their head if that's what you want to do. Because we want to make sure that you feel supported from Bob Fontana, the guy that started the company, all the way down to the office manager. That said, if I hire you, Jesse, I probably think can attest, I am always available for you. And I've been here long enough and I know enough people that I will call and tell someone that they're not doing their job and they need to get up and do it. So you have, Becca will too, like we're not afraid. I'm very passionate about doctors and I'm very passionate about making sure that we support you because like Dr. Judge, he's our chief clinical officer in the company. He said that we can never invest enough in doctors. And I agree with that, as well as you can never support enough behind doctors. Literally, if we don't have you, we don't see patients. And that's problematic because my salary comes from you seeing patients. So we are there full and forward behind you. And the business staff will also, your regional manager will come in, they'll listen to you. If you don't have a great owner like Tyler did, sitting there giving you advice on, hey, say it this way, approach it that way, they will never step on your clinical toes. You have full clinical autonomy, but they will say, hey, say it this way because the patient may understand that better, or word it this way and things like that. So they'll give you suggestions on verbiage and like the interpersonal communication style versus, and they have training on that versus anything clinical. Clinical, that's on you. How you treatment plan your gig. How you may say it may differ a little bit, and they can help you with that verbiage.
Awesome. Tyler, did you have something to add?
Just a couple of things he said, like sparked some things I thought about in my head. One thing that I think is cool is, as far as hiring staff and stuff, you can have as much involvement as you want. We had a couple DAs that came in right before COVID, right after COVID, that just were not good fits. And so going forward, we're hiring some more, but I was like, hey, I want to be a part of this process because I think I have a better feel than the regional manager does on who might be a good fit in our office. And so that's something that I wanted to be involved in. So they're like, yeah, let's do it. Usually doctors don't really want to be as much involved, and I didn't at first because it was another thing to handle, but I enjoy that they allowed me to be a part of that. The other thing was, I agree with what Brian said. Anybody on up, if you need to move something up the ladder, if you feel like someone's not taking care of it as quickly as you like, or maybe something they can't handle. That actually happened in my situation where I talked to Dr. Judge at Edge training about a problem that I was having, and he was there to sit down with me and talk it through. So everybody all the way up the ladder is very receptive to your needs as a doctor.
Love it. So you had mentioned, Brian, financial success. The question that just popped up is, how do you get paid? Do you get paid off collections or productions or both?
It's a little combination.
Who wants to answer that? The whole how do we get paid is always like sticky.
Yeah, this is always a good question to go to. So you get paid a guarantee daily. That daily varies per location because it's up to the owner. The owners pay your salary. So they really get to dictate that. And that's something that you sort of come up with the negotiation side of things. From there, you get paid, whether it be associate, which is a lesser percentage, versus a lead dentist is a larger percentage. Partnership, ownership, obviously ownership. Partnership is a little bit different. It's a little skewed version, but initially associateship and MCD is what you're coming in as. So you get paid a percentage of the gross profit for the clinic. What's great about that is the gross profit is not only what you do, it's what the hygienist does, another clinician, any specialist, where Jesse had mentioned earlier that you get paid, you get compensated if you refer to the in-house oral surgeon. You're actually making a little bit of money off the patient that you refer to them. So it's a team effort. And that's what I love about it, because you're not fighting over what procedures you want to do. You're like, hey, like, this is what's best for the patient. Let's do that. Because it makes sense. It's best for the patient and best for your paycheck. And it really eliminates a lot of infighting. On top of that, your hygienists and all your other staff members all have certain goals and parameters that they're trying to hit that drive patient care forward. And when they hit those, they actually get a bonus or an incentive as well. You get a profit share, they get a bonus. There's a big difference in the two. But it's not just you saying, hey, we need to do XYZ because I want to make a lot of money. It's, hey, let's do this as a team because that's what's best for the patient, and we're all going to make a little bit more of the pie.
The great idea behind that, really quick, is that, like you said, there's no fighting amongst, an associate or MCD or whoever to take specific cases. That way you guys can get all the experience and take on whatever cases that are out there, because you're not getting paid on specific production. It's definitely a team effort. Tyler, you were going to say something?
Yeah, just to follow up on Brian's too, I think one cool thing is your bonus or your profit share and your staff's bonus is largely based on patient satisfaction. So that's one thing that I think is really cool, is we're all there to give the patients the best experience you can, and it makes you money if the patients are happy too. So they go hand in hand, which I enjoy.
Awesome. Okay, we have one last, well, we have about 10 questions, but we have time for one last question. Do we offer CE, and how much do we get towards CE? That's a great question. Brian, can you answer that quickly?
Yeah, we provided your CE for you. You don't get a stipend to spend outside. We are an ADA cert provider, so all of our CE courses are certified by the ADA as being authentic and worthwhile, essentially. And the only course that you do have to pay for is after you get to a certain point within the implant course, there is a price component associated with that. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure every other CE that we have is free of charge besides your travel or anything like that. We also try to facilitate our CEs on days that we aren't open in the offices, so you're not forced to take vacation days and things like that. Which is nice. A lot of doctors seem to appreciate that. We're not having them on a Friday, or if we do, it's on a Friday evening because we know you close at 1. So you have time to go to the CE after work and still have a weekend, things like that. So we're very mindful of those things. But yeah, your CEs are provided for, and it's more than enough to maintain licensure and then learn new techniques and things like that as well.
Right. And speaking of CE, we're actually offering free CE overall to students, to anyone that wants to take the CE courses. We have a website. If you guys are interested, shoot me a message. But we have an online website that has all of our CE courses, and they're available to everyone. So any of the students that are interested in taking some CE courses, definitely take advantage of that, because that's just a good deal. So we're going to wrap up, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I've never even introduced myself. So most of you guys already know me. A lot of the attendees here are some of my awesome students that I work with. But yeah, my name is Becca. I'm the senior manager for the academic and relations team. I work really closely with the recruiting team. We work really closely with the doctors, and we're here to support you guys. Thank you so much for being here. To my panelists, Tyler, Jesse, and Brian, you guys are fantastic. And to any of the students, if you didn't get a chance to ask your question, or if you didn't get a chance to get your question answered, I know I still had about 10 or 11 questions left. Please shoot me a message personally, shoot me an email. The email that I send out has my phone number on there, so you can text me. But we're actually going to be hosting these once a week moving forward, so you're always welcome to jump on any other session that we have. But again, thank you guys for being here. Brock, good night.
Bye. Give the baby a love.
Bye, guys.
Bye.